Sorry for the technical problems. We are back live here at Michigan. We are in the middle of lap 4, coming to the beginning of lap 5. Grant Davis in the 24 is your leader. He has taken the lead here from Agnell Phillip. So let's run it through your top order right now. It's Davis, Bradley Burke, Michael Laraya, Agnell Phillip, and Cody Harris. Your top 5 as you come out of turn 2 at Michigan. And they're pretty much single file in that first group. And you got a second group that's running too wide for a while. And trying to see what they can make happen here. But right now, Grant Davis, who was on that bubble that we talked about before the broadcast, had some problems with the points, is doing everything he can to win a race here at Michigan.
Yeah, but Michael Laraya now tried to go down to the inside in turn 4, did not make it happen as we finally get everybody live pictures. I was just mentioning, Derek, it's a little broadcast that could. It's just I think I can get, something up and running. And whether it's Evan Pasoko, A, not having air conditioning in his house, B, now his computer's not allowing him to connect to iRacing, and then C, now my internet deciding that right in the middle of the open to decide to involuntarily stop working. Now we're finally with racing and can talk about some racing and some interesting racing at that, with Michael Laraya down to the inside in 4, looking for the race lead. Drag race down the front straightaway.
Great move here by this lead, and now we see a new leader coming around. And Josh, this is going to get more and more frantic as the day goes on.
This is going to be a race about drivers trying to get those wins for the playoffs. We mentioned very quickly at the top of the show that 2 drivers are locked in on points, Nieto and Gas, but everybody else that is down from there are not locked in. That includes Michael Laraya, or does not include Michael Laraya. It includes Grant Davis, who's on the outside of the cut line. Laraya having 1 win earlier this year to fall back on, but he's only got 1, which is not helping him a whole lot in the bonus points category, Derek. Of course, these drivers can earn some bonus points throughout the course of the season, primarily for wins that'll help them get through at least round number 1 of the playoffs, and then you got to keep on winning through the playoffs from there to keep the bonus points going. But for Michael Laraya, he's looking to add on to the bonus points that he's going to have heading into the playoffs, and Grant Davis is looking to get into the playoffs and maybe not have to rely on the points at the bubble of the cut line.
Well, it's funny, when we talk about this whole process, Josh, of winning in and what it can mean and how you do it, I think a lot of drivers circled next week at Daytona on the schedule as that wild card race, that question mark, the variable, the unknown, if you will, of, this is where anyone could win. To come out here and win at Michigan would be a great thing for Grant Davis or someone who's not won yet. But it'd be kind of a surprise to some of us because we all marked next week off of the calendar as the week to look out for.
Daytona is going to be one that everybody is going to look out for, but I also think with the drivers that we have in this field specifically, right now a lot of those drivers that are around that cut line are running up towards the front. I look further back, Steve Soa is above the cut line, but he's at tail end of the field, shotgun right now here at the Michigan International Speedway. Grant Davis, who's under the cut line, is now running P2. Brett Larson, who's 1 position under Grant Davis, not on the racetrack right now. Cam Patterson is running in P7, a good showing from that number 10 to begin the night as he looks to the inside of Ross Cato, another driver who 125, good to the cut line, is not safe. So we're seeing those drivers that kind of all season long have either struggled, whether it's for speed or whether it's for a little bit of luck. They're at the front of this field.
Big push there to the lead. That was Bradley Burke, pushing Grant Davis around. And Grant Davis now possibly back to leads as we come to the line here. Doesn't count till you touch the line, Josh, for the purpose of the stats. But there it is. Once again, man, that was a massive bump trap there coming into the corner, and it just shot him right to the lead.
Bradley Burke with the shove behind. And Derek, this is getting aggressive already. We're only on lap 11.
Yeah, it is, right? It's getting aggressive, and I liked what you talked about with all the people and where they stand, because there's really 3 different races being run here. If you're Michael Laraya or Agnell Phillip, you're out here just to win. You're out here just to have fun, just to do what you can. If you're Ross Cato or someone who's positive in the points, you're here hoping to triage. My goodness, speaking of triage, Bradley Burke almost got sent somewhere right there by that coming up. That Agnell Phillip almost got on the side of him. And then if you're someone like Grant Davis, if you're Cam Patterson, if you're someone like DeAndre Kane maybe in that list, you're racing for everything you have to lock in a spot when you probably can't do it on points. So really, there's 3 very different methods or very different, mantras coming into this race of how to race here. But man, everybody is full throttle. Everybody is just full bore right now.
These next-gen cars at Michigan, from what I've noticed in the last couple of seasons, not only of the NASCAR Cup Series, but also of the RSR Cup Series, it really has been a much different racing than we've seen with the Gen 6s. I feel like the Gen 6s were, it's going to sound very weird to say, I feel like they were almost a little bit too high speed. There wasn't a whole lot of, you had to kind of just control the car. Now you can kind of control your moves a little bit more. It doesn't feel like you're kind of along for the ride. It feels like you're in control the whole time, and you can kind of make those moves happen, and that's why I think we're seeing Bradley Burke give the big shoves to Grant Davis down the back straightaway, Derek, is they feel like they have a little bit more control over these cars. It's not a never-ending fight trying to go 210 miles an hour.
Yeah, what's that old analogy we use sometimes in race cars to learn how to drive about the whole put the egg under the throttle thing? In the old Gen 6 cars, it really felt like, especially out of turn 4, you had to do that, or that car would just sort of snap through and just mow the lawn there in the front straight. But not right now. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars. Going into this camera shot right here, everybody thinks they have a chance. Everybody wants a part of it. Mariah, Burke, Phillip, Davis, Cody Harris, and Ross Cato's up there. So, I mean, there's more involved in that, I believe, than just those names. We'll take a look at a different camera shot and find it. But, wow, this is incredible racing. You're right, though. This track with these new cars has been more about the speed and picking your line. Speaking of which, Cody Harris pick a line where there's not a car. That was a spotter call not clear that he backed out of.
This group here at the front is trading positions quick, and trying to trade positions at the front of the field now is Bradley Burke. Here comes the number 19 to insert himself into the top of the leaderboard. Michael O'Raya still leads the field as we put 15 laps behind us, this time by the start-finish line. And Derek, will take a moment to talk about our race analysis, because tonight's race is going to be 100 laps in total. And as we put just 15 behind us now, still a long way to go, even to that halfway bonus that'll be at lap 50. But I want to bring attention to that fuel window. It's about 43 to 48 laps. Now, that brings into question strategy. We saw last week at Richmond that we kind of had the 2-stop and we had the 1-stop. If you were taking the 2-stop, then you were very, very quick once you got those fresh Goodyear tires on. I remember Kevin King last week in the middle stint blowing his way to the front of the pack like he had put on the option tires, like the number 99 of Daniel Suarez in stage number 2 last night. But during stage number 3, he tried to catch up to the back bumper of our race leader, Peter Irons, who ended up winning the race. Could not do it in time. The 1-stop strategy proved to be the best last week in Richmond, Derek. Do you think they can try and stretch, get 2 more laps out of that fuel tank and do the 1-stop strategy? Or do you think we're going to see a couple of drivers pitting around lap 30, lap 35 trying to go 2-stop on us?
It depends on who they... Oh, hold on. Big wreck. This is now a moot point. There's the yellow. Big wreck in the back. There's the spin right there. Almost on time. Josh Lee caused the yellow flag by that question. Man, oh, man.
What's the story going to be on pit road? As we will take a look at that replay here in a moment, Derek. But that is caution number 1, and first caution we've seen in a while. We were caution free last week at Richmond.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've seen the caution, feels like, in RSR. So we're going to wait and see what happens. Here's your replay. Watch it here. That's that big DeAndre Kane up here on the top of your screen in that bluish purple. Oh, made contact and came down. Now, who made contact with who will probably need to come up a better angle, Josh, but that's his contact, and both drivers to the inside there. Yellow quickly comes out. So let's watch this again here. This will be on board.
Dylan Coyle, who just got caught up in it. Here comes a wild number 90, DeAndre Kane.
Yeah, Kane just came down and wasn't clear. And listen, when you're high-speed racing at Michigan, Josh, or any track of this nature where you're, 200 plus, clear and not clear is a call that changes within a tenth of a second.
That was the onboard to DeAndre Kane there. There's Dylan Coyle, who will get to in a moment. Pit road is open, and it's going to be everybody coming in for 4 fresh Goodyear tires and some Sunoco fuel.
This will kind of kill the whole talk about the fuel strategy, unfortunately. This will put everyone to the good on one more stop under green. So that's kind of out the window. But I suspect this is going to change this race in a lot of ways. We'll talk about that once pit stops are over. But everyone's in. Now, Josh, the question is anyone brave enough to go 2 tires and take the lead here? There's all those sides of tires up off the ground. And here comes the other sides. No one's moving. So everyone's 4 tires. But Lariah might win the race off pit road.
Lariah does. It's Lariah ahead of Phillip, ahead of Harris, ahead of Burke, ahead of Patterson, who gets out 5th. Grant Davis with a slow pit lane time. Not sure if he blew through his pit box or not, but he spent 41 seconds just about in the pit lane. Only 14.7 in the box, but everybody else in the mid to high 38s when it came to their pit lane time. So Grant Davis losing 2 seconds on pit road and is now going to be tail end of the top 10.
Yeah, that tells me he either missed his box, either like went too far, or wasn't sure where it was and kind of had to go searching for it. One of the two in that moment. Well, before we talk about the wreck, let's talk to Dylan Coyle. Dylan, what's your perspective of what happened here in this wreck with DeAndre?
I mean, we were going 3 wide. Car was coming underneath me, and DeAndre said over the radio he just got loose. That's how I viewed it, that he did just get loose on the outside and kind of came into me. It sounds like that's what you guys are saying happened too. But no damage on this car and
Recording
a little bit of a
progress.
reset. So could be worse.
Could be worse indeed. Josh, that's the good news, by the way. I noticed for both drivers, they both got the cars rolled up and no one hit a wall. So while you don't want to get wrecked, while you don't want to get that, right front damage possibly or whatever it may be where you make contact, no wall damage is a big thing here at Michigan because unlike where we raced before at Richmond, aerodynamics matters a lot here.
Only a new set of shoes needed on both of those cars, and they look like now they are good to go. Dylan Coyle, who we just heard from, and DeAndre Kane are both still on the racetrack, still on the lead lap. They're just at the tail end of this field. Dylan, you sound upset that you got caught up in a wreck a little bit early on in this race, but hey, not a lot of damage. You're still in it.
0 damage, at least that had to be repaired. Engine's fine, tires, like you said, new shoes. Looking at my wear, it was 85, 85, 85, except for the left front, 91. So taking it a little bit too easy on that one, but otherwise, felt like I was running a pretty decent race, and I feel like there's more speed than I thought I had in it.
Well, Josh, let me tell you what I take away from Dylan's note there. 85, 85, 85 after roughly 15 laps of racing tells me these tires are going to wear today. So tires will be a conversation we have if this does stay green. But here we go, Josh. Pace car down. Let's get it restarted.
Taking a look at the weather as well. Not a particularly hot day here in Michigan, but that track temp of 110 degrees is going to be interesting with these Goodyear tires. And we're back to racing here in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series at the virtual Michigan International Speedway. And they're already fanning out 3 wide. Agnell Phillip gets an uncharacteristic bad restart. He's stuck in the middle, 3 wide. To the bottom goes the 17. Up top goes the 19 of Bradley Burke. They look to try and swallow the number 94 of Agnell Phillip, and it did work for a moment. Phillip down to 4th. Here comes Bradley Burke now slamming the back bumper of Cody Harris, looking for 2nd place.
Man, they are wild and crazy, and that's why there's going to be now. With there being no fuel involved in the strategy, no one feels the need to save. No one feels the need to be cautious. No one feels the need to be safe. Now it is just going to be full throttle, full bumper, full contact, if you will, possibly here at Michigan. Look at this here. Michael Lariah is leading him around and has to have the biggest grin on his face, Josh, that he sees 2 and 3 wide racing behind him.
So now Derek, being on lap 22, just went back to green. Everybody came down pit road at lap 19. Are we expecting now just a quick one stop to end this race, or I don't think anybody can make it all the way to the end, but what if another caution comes out? Are we going to see more drivers down pit lane, or is it kind of everybody laying their bed one more stop to the end no matter what?
Depends when that caution comes out, I believe. If it comes out more than probably 8-9 laps into this run, everyone will come down and put tires on again. Because as race car drivers, the one thing we love is fresh tires.
Whoa, Cody Harris just made contact with Bradley Burke. And the yellow flag is out. They were dooring each other down the front straightaway. And they doored each other in the corner. And Burke is going to pay the price. Around he goes in front of the field, but a solo car incident to bring out the second yellow flag of the evening.
Wow, that was fast. That was instant how that happened. And cautions will breed cautions, Josh. That's how it comes out here. But I think everyone now is going to feel the need to just go fast and get there fast. There'll be there'll be, more take and more give, less take. Let's watch this here.
They were dooring each other down the front straightaway. There's one. You're going to see a second one here, Derek, even a third before they go into one.
I'm not sure if it was dooring intentional as much as sometimes. Man, look at that. There it is. That's when the final Throttle broke the camel's back. I don't know if they were dooring on purpose, or maybe sometimes when you're 3 wide, you don't know exactly how 3 wide you are, if that makes sense. Watch this here. This will be from Cody Harris up top, I believe. No, this is Bradley Burke, sorry. There it is.
He didn't even see much of what was going on around him, Derek.
No, didn't see anything. But look at that. Once again, great job by Bradley. Let's not let that go to save that. Just to make sure that car wasn't worse. Yeah, some right side damage. Watch this view here. This is from Cody Harris. And man, it's hard to say from this camera angle. There it is. That's going to be the final bump right there.
To be honest, I don't think Harris knew much of what was going on either.
Yeah, it depends on your monitor setup, right? I mean, we talked about Dylan racing VR earlier. You can kind of look around and see if you're in VR. If you're Cody Harris, I think Cody runs in triples, if I remember right. So he might have seen it in his left-hand monitor. I don't know. But now, to answer your question, no, some people did come down. Ross Cato, Andrew Fainars, Steven Sleva, Bradley Burke, of course, comes down. He might have some damage to fix. Why I like this call, Josh, for the record, is you're not going to make it from fueling. But what you are going to do, if we can now get this thing green and sort of work out, is you're extending that number of when you need to pit last. You're putting yourself at a competitive advantage over the rest of the field by maybe 2-3 laps.
So second yellow flag of the evening comes very, very close after a previous restart. Looks like the only drivers to bring themselves down to the pit lane are those couple of drivers towards the tail end of the field. Andrew Freenar, Steve Soa, Ross Cato, and Bradley Burke. Burke, obviously, for pretty obvious reasons. And then number 19, he was the cause of that yellow flag. Interesting to note as well that, of course, with the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series rulebook, if you cause a caution, or I should say if you claim cause for a yellow flag, then you must claim that by typing a C in the iRacing text chat. You will be handed an EOL after that for causing an incident. Interesting to note that neither in the last incident with DeAndre Kane and Dylan Coyle, or that incident with Cody Harris and Bradley Burke, neither of them had any claim of a yellow flag at all. So those will both
I'm certainly not claiming it.
Okay, Dylan. Well, wasn't the point I was trying to make, but copy that.
So, and the reason why that's important from a driver standpoint, Josh, as you know, is a couple reasons. One, the admins typically look a little bit more favorably on you if you're willing to claim the caution. If one of the admins has to go back post-race and figure it out, typically the penalty is a little steeper than just the end of line for the in-race claim. That's probably the biggest difference here. What you're trying to bring up is just how that can impact things later, and penalty points and, what have you, notices, warnings, and what have you. But yeah, I think everyone here is surprised by how fast and just how crazy this race is right now, that I think this is one of those races where things happen and you're not really sure if it's your fault. Like there are some racetracks when if you bump someone, maybe you go, oh, I did that, right? Like you're at Bristol and you do the bump and run. I did that. That's me. Right now, it's sort of like super speedway racing, where a small fraction of a movement left or right in this track is the difference between clear and dooring someone, as I think we saw with Cody Harris and Bradley Burke. So, yeah, I'm curious that no one's claiming. Is this a case where, like, since the head admin is away, the mice will play?
I'm not responsible.
Well, Dylan Coyle has laid his bed. He is not responsible, but Dylan, focus on this restart because the leader, Michael Laraya, is in the Geico restart zone. We're back to racing as we are now past a quarter of the way through tonight's proceedings in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. Back to one side by side for second place as Michael Laraya gets a blinding restart over the rest of the field. Harris and Patterson side by side through 1 and 2.
Look at this, by the way, Cam Patterson up front. On the bottom there, that camera shot, this is another driver who it needs to be win and in. I don't know if he's completely mathematically done, Josh, but basically mathematically done. If he doesn't win here tonight, next week at Daytona, or the week after Darlington, he will not make the playoffs. These guys are 4 wide at some points here. Offset, my goodness.
Oh, another right behind.
Hold on. Is that Bradley Burke again?
Burke again and DeAndre Kane again.
Wow. Did someone tell these guys this is the last race of the regular season? Did I miss a memo somewhere? Did Evan mess with the schedule again?
Wait, Evan originally put us in Australia. Anything's possible, but let's get the first look on the replay because that wreck happened about as quickly as we reported on it.
There's DeAndre Kane, top of your screen, and it looks like he's having a hard time holding on to that vehicle. And then I actually think Bradley may have been not clear. Bradley came up really quick. That was going to be a curious call. Once again, no one's claimed anything for it yet. That's becoming a pattern for tonight. But yeah, that's crazy. Watch this here from this Bradley Burke, I believe. Hard to tell from his angle, but he just comes up. I mean, listen, when you're DeAndre Kane and you're up top line against the wall, Josh, like, where are you supposed to go?
Now on board with Kane into 3. He goes all the
here.
way up top into the marbles as well. I mean, wouldn't be shocked if he got loose. It looks like he's already playing with it.
I think that's more Burke coming up. I'll be honest with you. A little loose or not, I mean, Burke wasn't clear. I mean, that's just how I see it.
Can't say I wholeheartedly disagree, but at least in the eyes of both of those drivers, neither of them wanting to claim that yellow flag, neither one of them wanting the end of the longest line penalty, so we will stay with our current proceedings. Interesting couple of drivers down in the pit lane. It was Andrew Freenarz, Ross Cato, Dylan Coyle, Steve Soa, Bradley Burke, Bradley Burke and DeAndre Kane, pretty obviously why they're in the pit lane, but Steve Soa, Coyle, Cato, and Freenarz that all just came in. Let's see if we can dial up Dylan Coyle, who is still hanging out with us. Dylan, what was the call there coming into the pit lane? Was that a last-minute call, or do you want to top it off with fuel?
I just wanted to top it off with fuel. Used a little bit, not too much, but kind of like, what you guys were saying a little bit earlier, it gives you a little bit more of an option as the race goes on. Now, if we keep getting a bunch of cautions here, we're going to still all have to pit one more time. But the guys who came in a little bit earlier on that first caution to come in and get fuel, I think that was lap 17, lap 18, something like that. Yeah, we've only had a couple green flag laps, but honestly, I'm going to follow Andrew again. Why not? Look at that. I like that. Just keep topping off on fuel. We're already in the back here.
Honestly, if there's anybody to just follow, Derek, I'd say for Andrew Freenarz is a good choice.
Yeah, you and I are on the same brainwave. I was about to say the same thing. If you're going to follow someone, why not follow a former eNASCAR competitor? They might know something about how to do this, right? So here you go. Come down. I like what Dylan said. What this says, it opens the window. Listen, it may only be 4 or 5 green flag laps. It may only be that, but it may also be you come out the field, Josh, but what you do is you don't sit on pit road as long waiting for gas if you all coming together, and you just sort of jump the field that way. There's so many possibilities open here, but first we got to get things calmed down a little bit. We got to get drivers to kind of breathe, just to find that zen if you need to, or whatever you need to do. Because right now, this is getting kind of ludicrous with some of the contact we're making, to be honest with you. This is just a little bit of everyone wants everything right now.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan Coyle.
You have not commented on my shirt.
I said, okay, to be fair, I did say something before we went on broadcast. I went out and say something on broadcast. That is a great shirt.
What a corporate shill. That's what I'll say. What a corporate shill.
I didn't even know Evan sold those.
I don't think he did.
And there is nothing.
That's why I never got one.
There's nothing better than watching a webcam with a dude with a piece of white plastic on his face. Can I say that?
I mean, hey, yeah.
Well, Dylan Coyle is going to stay in VR. We're going to go back to green. Cam Patterson and Cody Harris still side by side for that second spot, but as they race into one, it's going to be Harris trying to get an advantage. He will get an advantage heading into the first corner, and we'll see how quickly we get another yellow flag as the drivers get even more aggressive on this restart. It looks like we're 3 wide now for second place.
My goodness, we are. And Cam Patterson sort of cleared it. I wanted to say Michael Lariah stayed in the lead there, but that's the best that I think Patterson, Harris, and others have done as far as keeping up with him on the restart. Cam Patterson wants this, and I think everyone now senses with the way this race is going and how it's sort of draft heavy it is, how momentum based it is. Everyone's building that confidence, Josh, that idea in your head. Listen, I can win this. Like, I can get up here. I can lead this. I can maybe find something here, that I need. Now, the other thing to talk about real quick with the gas situation, everyone's good on this part, as far as I know. We don't have the caution, but we do have the halfway points at the end of lap 50 here in RSR. Everyone will be good for gas to halfway at least with these yellow flags.
3 wide again with the strategies wide open. I feel like about as wide open as all these drivers on the throttles going around the Michigan International Speedway. We'll put 32 laps behind us this time across the start-finish line. Cody Harris fighting with Sam Nieto behind him. Interesting to note for Sam Nieto, he's locked in on points. He has not gone to victory lane yet, but very consistent finishes out of that Keystone Light number 2 Ford Mustang, and he is looking to run for a championship this season. Might not have a win under his belt, but he is right now locked in on points. I believe some plus 200 something to the good on the cut line with only about 156 points or so left on the board. He is far and away locked in on points, just going for some bonuses and maybe a race win tonight.
And some people will say if you're locked in, why push so hard? Well, the reason you push so hard is that where you line up in the first round of the playoffs matters, because that's just how, quote unquote, good you are to the cut line that will be at the end of the first round. And with 3 very different tracks available and a road course involved, some people might want that comfort of, oh my God, there's a car spinning the back. That is no caution yet.
Is he going to save it?
Saving it's an interesting word. I don't know if he saved it, but he definitely did not bring the yellow out.
Hey, he brought it off of the racing surface, which did not bring the yellow flag out, so we stay green with the front of the field now starting to single file out. But Derek, I love all the playoff talk, because we've been kind of previewing the playoffs for the entire year. Now the playoffs are real. There are 3 races left, including this one, to lock yourself into the top 16 to compete for the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series Championship in 2024. Now, of course, last season was won by the 94 of Agno Phillip. What helped him win was the consistency that he had, not only through the entire season, but specifically in the playoffs. He was very, very dominant in the regular season, which got him enough bonus points that he cruised himself through the first round of the playoffs. And this year, right now, he has racked up a grand total of, I believe, counting all the bonus points up, 21 bonus points total. So he's going to walk into the playoffs with a reset total of 2,021. If you are locked into the playoffs on points or just have 1 win, you get 2,000. From there, it is 3 points for each win. So he right now has a considerable leg up on anybody else in the playoffs, and almost as a guaranteed spot in the round of 8 or the round of 12 as he goes side by side with Lariah for the race lead, and Lariah is going to keep this battle heads up across the line.
And interesting to see Agnew Phillip up here tonight, because he's really, not that Agnew Phillip's had a bad run by any means, Josh, but really was dominant early, and you saw other competitors like, Peter Irons and a few others come in and sort of really have kind of taken over, if you want to call it the summer schedule, and it's sort of taken that place at Agnew Phillip winning all the time. So while Agnew is still doing great, it's still got 6 wins, I believe it is, on top of the board. Man, this would be a good night for that momentum to come back, because he's going to make a pass on the inside and likely will be clear of Lariah, and he is as we come through turn 4. And look, the sun has gone down, Josh. This track is going to cool off. Lariah will lead here, but as this track cools off, things are only going to get a little bit more bonkers, I think.
Agnew Phillip won 3 races in a row earlier on this season, and since then has only gone to victory lane in the last, this is going to sound like a weird stat because it still is a lot, in the last 7 races he has gone to victory lane twice. Now that sounds like a lot. For Agnew Phillip, it's not, because you go to the first 5 races of this season, Derek, he won 3 of them.
Yeah, that's a first world problem, is what we call that.
That is the iRacing definition of first world problems.
So let's change topics for a second here. I want to show you something. If we can pull up here, as we're watching Cody Harris run in 4th. And now, for anyone who thinks this track is easy to drive and that we're just having a good old time here, I can see Cody Harris's zoom camera that the broadcast has access to, Josh. The way he's driving these corners, watch this wheel movement as he comes into the corner here. It is a little bit right, a little bit left, a little bit back and forth, a little bit wobbly. It's like he's like sawing a log with that wheel. That is not a comfortable ride by any means, and that's one of the more timid corners he's had the past 3 laps there of movement. Watch it again here in turns 1 and 2. Let's see if it gets worse. He's now stuck in line here behind some dirty air. Man, look at that wheel, just sawing back and forth. Ooh. Wow, there it is right there. Look at that. That is, oh my gosh.
Good time to note as well that the RSR Cup Series continues to use fixed setups across the entire season. So everybody is dealing with the same setup. Maybe not everybody dealing with that same looseness that Cody Harris has, but everybody has the same things under the hood and same adjustments made to all of their race cars. So seems like everybody going to be dealing with a little bit of upset cars on the tail end of these corners, but get a great look at Cody Harris just fighting that wheel as he continues to wheel that number 28 around and trying to fight for second. The fight for first is on. Agnew Phillip takes it upstairs for a change, and he is going to clear Michael Lariah. Now, clean air for Agnew Phillip normally means he's going to pull away. Let's find out if that's going to stay the same, because Sam Nieto wants second place. He dives it into 3. Does he clear Michael Lariah? Not for the moment. Does he clear him off 4? Yes, he does. Put Nieto to second.
And what clean air means here is you get no one in front of you blocking your view or blocking out that clean air. But what it means is there's guys behind you pulling a draft who are going to get a great run. Speaking of Nieto, look at this down to the bottom in 1 and 2. He is trying to clear for the race lead and not gonna get there completely, but still competitive down the back straight. Now he's got a small push on Lariah. Let's see if Lariah sticks with him. If he does, Nieto will get up here and make a run in 3 and 4.
Nieto with another big send to the inside in 3 and 4. Does it stick on the bottom of the racetrack? Remember, Phillip passed him on the Phillip passed for the lead upstairs, so he's keeping him upstairs, and now big push down the front straightaway for Agnew Phillip. He'll retake the lead now with help from the 44 behind into 1 and 2. Nieto stuck down low on, by the way, Derek, the one portion of the racetrack that is less banked than the rest of the corner. That bottom inside line right up against that yellow.
Yeah, that'll cause some problems if you're not careful. But real quick, 14 thousandths of a second, Josh. That's what Agnew Phillip led that last lap by. If that would have been the last lap run right there between those cars, Phillip would have won by 14 thousandths of a second. And here we go here, but now they're back around again. Now it's Phillip, now it's Lariah, now it's Cody Harris pushing Agno Phillip, and now it's going to put Cody Harris up to second. But you talked about the banking, and that can cause some problems, Josh, because the sooner the banking ends, or the more sudden that transition ends of that banking, the more likely you are to upset that car. The more likely it is that car could come out from under you and get loose. It can happen anywhere on this track. This track is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart, but some pieces of the track are more difficult than others. And now for the first time in a while, your top three are almost single file, Josh.
This entire front group is still racing quite aggressively. You can put a blanket over him right now. About gap down to 9th place is only about 1 second on this racetrack right now. They have calmed down considerably, but they are still dicing for position as Nieto tried to go for second. Not going to get there as contact made for third. That was Nieto trying to get back up into line with Lariah. Could not do it. And oh, by the way, say hello to the number 88 Ford Mustang of Andrew Farinaj. He has came down into the pit lane about more than anybody has tonight. 5 trips into the pit lane, majority of them just for a splash of Sunoco Racing fuel. He's now up to P5, fighting with our race leaders.
And that little bit of extra gas might give him the confidence right here, Josh, of knowing he can make something happen. That extra gas gives him the confidence of knowing that, listen, when these guys need to pit, I can stay out. I can lead this race. I have a strategy. And that can make you feel good. That can really do a lot for your mental headspace when you know you have a play to make, so to speak, or an idea or a strategy, or however you want to phrase it. But look at him here, riding behind Lariah, behind Cody Harris, trying to get up there, but now it's moved to the bottom, but trying to get to the lead and make things happen. And I think, by the way, to go to your point, as we're in turn one, sorry to cut you off here, I think this is calmed down, Josh, not due to the drivers wanting it to calm down. But remember, Dylan gave us his tire numbers earlier. After like 15 laps, they were already at 85%. We're getting into a run now. These tires are probably wearing off. And so all that grip you had, all those moves you had to make, all that confidence you had in your tires about 10 laps ago, probably not as much as you did before.
We mentioned they're calming down a little bit. Cody Harris is still being really aggressive in this field because he is just hugging anybody's door that he gets around, and it's working. It's keeping him up at the front. And as far as right now goes, the top 10 is all kind of in this blanket right here. You can go all the way back to the 17 of Eric Papanow, who is at the tail end of this group. It's going to be pretty easy to figure out who's going to walk away with the halfway bonus points because, well, it's everybody in this front group. Top 10 are all going to earn points at the end of lap 50, and everybody in this group is the top 10. Grant Davis is the first driver that is not within this group. He is P11, and there you see his onboard there. Considerable amount of the ways back from this top 10. So 2 to go until the halfway bonus, and we're watching the race for the halfway bonus points. Phillip trying to grab 10, the max that you can in the halfway bonus.
Now, you said we might know which 10 are getting the points, but what order those 10 are going to be in? Maybe a last-second decision. We may not know that until we all are done crossing the line at the end of 50 here. So we might know what 10, but it keeps moving around here. I mean, Agno Phillip seems to have a nice, secure spot, but right now it's Phillip, it's Harris, it's Nieto, it's Andrew Freenach, and Thomas George, your top 5, but that may change in just a little bit of a lap here.
So at the end of this lap, we will get those halfway bonus points given to your top 10. How will they finish within this top 10 is still to be decided. That is Braden Whitaker that is going to get by Cam Patterson. Patterson falls to 9th out of the drivers in this top group. I gotta think Patterson wanting to be aggressive for those points because he needs them for his spot in the playoffs. Patterson to the inside for 8th. It'll be Agno Phillip that walks away with the most points. Phillip, Nieto, Harris, George, Cato, Lariah, Farinaj, Whitaker, Patterson, and Papanow at the line for your halfway bonus points. And that will put us now halfway done with this race, and Agnell Phillip trying to pull away, but not for long, only to the tune of about a half second now. And Derek, let's start talking strategy again, because the stint numbers for our top group is up to 32 laps. Figure with the cautions, give or take a couple of laps, we're going to start seeing drivers come into the pit lane. I'll say a conservative 15 to 20 laps. Okay, so 15 to 20 laps. We're thinking we're going to see these drivers into the pit lane. Andrew Freenage has about 11 more laps, or 11 less laps, I should say, on his fuel tank than everybody else. So he can last probably about 30-ish laps.
26 for me.
26 for Coyle, who came in at the same time. So we'll go with 26 for Andrew Freenage. This opens the strategy wide up.
Yeah, there's a couple things to talk about. First off, the pit window is open as of right now. Let's talk about that and be very open about it. No one's probably going to pit right now, but pure the fuel numbers we think we know coming into the race of 43 to 48 laps per run. As of right now, anyone who pits under green, under yellow, whatever, is probably most likely good on fuel. Now, the second thing I'm noticing here, though, is as drivers are using these drafting runs to help make these moves, I would think you would have to be insane as a driver, Josh, to pit by yourself. You're going to have to coordinate this pit stop with a couple of drivers around you. So if you're Sam Nieto, you might have to work with Cody Harris, who, listen, they've not had the best season of being friends. They've had some contact throughout the season, but they're going to need to work it out. Maybe with Thomas George, maybe with Ross Cato, and say, hey guys, whatever, let's pick lap, insert number here, 60, 65, or whatever you want, and come down together. If you come down alone here and do not have a drafting partner off a pit road, I think you're sunk.
So side by side, or almost side by side, for second place, as now Nieto goes back to second place. It's an interesting tale for Sam Nieto this season, because he has been very, very consistent. He's in on points. He's locked in on points. He does not need to worry about a win anymore. Nieto can focus on just trying to get that number 2 into victory lane as much as he can. Now, he has not gone to victory lane since last season, when he went to victory lane 4 times: Vegas, Nashville, Pocono, and Darlington. Not to say it hasn't been a good season. I just mentioned he's locked in on points, Derek. But is he thinking in the forefront of his mind about a race win? I think this is the highest up that I've seen Sam Nieto this year, and I think this is also the most confident that I've seen Sam Nieto this year. He's only got 1 second place finisher. I guess I should say 2 second place finishes this season, but that is it.
Well, it depends right now. How is he feeling in that car? Yes, you're locked in on points, but this is a confidence-building moment. In fact, you're running second. You're up here with Phillip. You're up here with Harris. You're up here with Lariah, and you're running well. A win doesn't necessarily always boost morale, or I say is necessary to boost morale. A top 2, a top 3 can still boost your morale depending upon how you've run the rest of the season. So right now, if you're Sam Nieto, you've got to be stoked about where you are. You've got to be stoked that you're in P2. You've got to be stoked that you're within sniffing range of the leader. You're probably not stoked the driver behind you is Cody Harris, because I said they've had a couple runs this season, and Sam's had a word or two for Cody Harris this season. So I bet if you're Sam Nieto, you're wishing there was anyone behind you besides Cody Harris. But right now, that gap is pretty sizable. It's a half a second between Agnell Phillip up the lead, and then Nieto and Harris in second and third. And I think probably with the way these tires are wearing, we're probably there now. Some of the bump drafts are gone. The heavy drafting lines are gone. The 2, 3, 4 wide racing is kind of gone. Now drivers need to be more careful, pardon me, and just hold on. But look at that. I say that, and then here they go, just moving all around.
This is the secret to get some good racing on the track. We start talking about how they calm down. I think that's officially what we found out.
Yeah, it's commentator's curse. Just talk about kicking a field goal and he'll miss it. That's how it works here. Here's the 3 wide racing. Look at this here. This is right behind Michael Lariah. So this would be George, Patterson, and Freenage up top. And they're having a good old time. But remember, Cam Patterson's the big story here. He is the first one in that group, I believe, that needs to win. He needs to win to be in. I don't think he can get enough points. You know, obviously having a great run tonight will help. Those bonus points will help. Anything will help. But it's win or in, I imagine, for Cam Patterson.
Right now, Cam Patterson's sitting in, trying to find him, 19th in the playoff standings, 71 back from the cut line. Not all bad, but Derek, it comes to the point where if he needs to win to get the most amount of points to be able to make the points work. So that at that point he's just winning. So it's pretty much in a must-win situation.
I agree 100%. It's a must-win because, you know, drivers are going to earn points here. Probably by next week there'll be a couple more drivers locked in just on points, I would imagine. We'll see that next week when we look at the point standings, but we'll see how it goes. By the way, of note, I should mention here, we're watching Michael Araya on screen. Cody Harris and Sam Nieto have swapped positions up front, by the way. So now it's Cody Harris in second, Sam Nieto in third. And Harris seems a little more confident here. He seems like he feels like he has something here. Right now, the gap is about 0.8 of a second to Cody Harris. That is down from where it was at the line. So let's see if he can get something happening here and be in contention before pit stops begin.
Nieto looks back to the bottom, but Cody Harris powers on that outside line to keep that spot. Nothing going on in the Loraya, Cato, Patterson, and Farinar's fight just yet. They're back to single file. Seems like every single lap those positions kind of change, so once we see anything go on, we'll bring you back to that battle for fourth. But this battle for second place right now with Harris and Nieto is the interesting one on the track right now, and it is the most forward-facing battle that we've got. Bradley Burke has brought his way into the pit lane. He pitted 31 laps ago, so this does not look like a strategy ploy. If it is a strategy ploy, it's going to need to be a very lucky one at that. And he brings the number 19 into the pit lane with 40 to go. Everybody else in this front group is either on the 42 lap stint strategy or they're on the group that kept bringing it down pit lane multiple times to top up with fuel. We'll be able to show you exactly who those drivers are. So last pit stop lap, those drivers that pitted on lap 19, those are the drivers that pitted under our first yellow flag of the night or second yellow flag, one of those two. The rest of the field coming down with each subsequent yellow flag to top it off with fuel multiple times. Once when the pit lane opened, and another time with 2 to go, and another time before the field came to green. So those drivers have more in the tank. They've also got a little bit of fresher tires, Derek, but with 10 lap difference on the tires, we did see a decent amount of wear earlier on in the evening, but we also have had some cloud cover since then. Do you still think that 10 lap difference in the tires is going to be a massive difference? Only 2 drivers out of those handful that pitted in our last yellow flag are within the top 10. The rest of them are still around 13th right now behind Coyle.
Well, that's assuming that those drivers took tires and not just gas. That would be the thing we'd have to research and figure out. But I do think the 10-lap tires will matter a little bit here. But right now, I think for the first drivers who pitted the first time and not since then, Josh, we've got to be within, I would think, 7, 8, 9 laps of pitting. Even with all those yellows coming out, we can't be that far off this first group coming down pit road. And listen, this is a high-speed track. It's a very, very wide track. Pit road entry is not easy here. So everyone needs to kind of now mind their P's and Q's and realize you're going to have to make a green flag stop. You need to kind of figure that out in your head because you can easily loop yourself around here coming down to this pit road without much effort here. So, by the way, Nieto has gotten back around to Harris again. So these two are fighting, but what they're doing in their fighting is they are just really decimating that lead they had, or that gap they had. They're making it bigger and bigger and bigger, as I'm trying to say. So we'll see how that goes. But out of the top 10, Thomas George, I believe, is the first one to pit. He is down pit road all by himself, as the song says.
I can last around 13 more laps, guys, on fuel. So if Andrew's been in the draft this entire run, he's going to have a little bit more than me.
Think about that, Josh. From what we're hearing from Dylan Coyle, 13 more laps means basically lap 78, maybe 79. So only 20 to go. The problem for Andrew Freenosh might be, Josh, that it's going to be hard to justify sitting there and taking 4 tires with only 20 laps to go. You may not think you have the time to really benefit from 4 tires, but you're going to want them. That's a really interesting call. If I was Freenosh, I might pit early with the herd and just spend less time on pit road and get my 4 tires and gas.
Papanow brings it into the pit lane. I just saw Thomas George exiting the pit lane as well. The winner from last time out here at Michigan in 2023. So Derek, where we're at right now with what you just mentioned, do you think anybody forgoes taking 4 tires? Do you think we see 2 tire stops? Do you think we see no tire stops?
No. It may be a 2-tire stop. Maybe if you're Andrew Freenosh and you were taking tires, maybe you call a 2-tire play. Maybe. There's no such thing as a no-tire play here. There's no way that I think anyone here wants to go, what would be 65 laps or so on a single set of tires. I can't imagine that's going to work for you. But maybe 2. Maybe Freenosh just takes the 2. I really do think the better economical call is to come down here with the drivers around you. Cam Patterson, Ross Cato, Michael Laraya. Come down when they want to come down and just spend less time on pit road and still have the drafting, help that you may need. I don't think 2 tires is the right call. I think you'll get 8 alive here by 4 tires. I really do.
Do you think anybody tries to hold it off for a caution?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right now we know Freenosh will. We know that Dylan Coyle's in that spot. We know, I think, Steven Soa, who's back in 12th, is in that spot, although he's way, way back in the field. But, yeah, I mean, why not run it dry and see what happens? Because when people start pitting and they put those new tires on, those first couple laps on new tires could be just different than what you remember. You might loop this around by accident. You might make contact with someone. There might be some issues getting on or off pit road that might bring out a yellow. So who knows what can happen here in this moment. But look at that. That's Michael Laraya and Ross Cato. Typically, Josh, in a race car, when the car is already loose and the tires are worn, the last place you see a driver go is down on that apron on the front straight, because that apron causes a lot of handling problems typically. But Ross Cato, feeling good. He just rode that whole front line down on the bottom of the banking there.
I mentioned earlier how that very bottom of this racetrack is a different level of banking than the rest of the turn. So it is kind of frees up the car as here comes Michael Laraya into the pit lane. First one of your leaders in.
I am stunned. You and I have access to your driver radio, and I can say I'm listening in. I know all these drivers are in their own Discord channels as well, but I'm surprised that I'm not hearing any coordination of pit stops. I'm not hearing any hey, for example, who wants to come on lap 70? Who wants to come on lap 72 or whatever? I'm surprised we're not trying to draft together on and off the pit road.
So you're saying that draft is important here like it is at Daytona next week, like it is at Talladega. You want to pit with partners. Why?
Because it's more speed. You're gonna lose less time coming when you're getting back up to speed here. I would believe. By the way, here is Agnell Phillip on pit road. But that speed that you're gonna gain by being in a draft here, coming off a pit road, you're gonna get up to speed faster. You're gonna have something to run with. You're gonna have that extra time and speed. It's as simple as that. So I'm surprised that no one's trying it. Now, here's the downside to drafting or to pitting with someone. Pardon me. If they mess up their pit stop or they mess up their pit entry, you're going to mess up your pit entry. So you're sort of trusting in that moment that you can pit with someone who does it correctly and doesn't put both of you in the doghouse.
Phillip exits pit road. Nieto comes into pit road. I see Cato behind him also following him in. Cam Patterson also decided to pit as well. With Phillip on pit road is Grant Davis and Braden Whitaker as well. Now this leaves Cody Harris up and into the race lead. And he has Michael Laraya behind him. Remember, he was the first out of this group to come in and pit. Where they cycled around, Laraya is your now last driver on the lead lap as he passes Cody Harris. Agnell Phillip is now your net race leader once again. He's got Thomas George 1.5 seconds back. And that is how the top of this group has shuffled themselves around for pit stops. DeAndre Kane is also in. Looks like Cam Patterson is Now exiting the pit lane, Sam Nieto, same with him in the 2. Ooh. And Andrew Freenage now from second place also comes in.
Yeah, big news. Andrew Freenage came in way early. I told you I thought he might not want to do that. He might want to come in early, and so he can get 4 tires. Let's watch the car lift up here. There's the right side. There's the tires going that side. Does he lift the left side? Yes, there it is. So he wanted 4 tires. So now you come in early because, listen, if you come in with 20 to go or 15 to go, whatever he can make it to, you won't have enough time to get those tires warmed up and really get the benefit out of them as compared to if you pit now. But what it probably meant was he needed to put less fuel in the car than his competitors. Here comes Cody Harris down pit road, by the way. He'll make that long trek down here. See where he was the lead. He's graded P2 tonight, so he has to go all the way down to the front of the pit road. There he is in his box. There's your right sides. And in a moment, they're going to drop that down and come around and lift up the left side. So far, Josh, no one has taken 2 tires that I've seen.
Sea of 4 Goodyear tires and fuel, but look at what that did to our race lead. Dylan Coyle, you're leading in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series again. When you pitting?
I think that I'm just going to enjoy this ride real quick. I hope you guys are enjoying this ride, you know. I really, really am getting the experience of a back marker waiting a lot of time right now to lead some laps, get the sponsors happy. You know, Coilcast, big sponsor of myself. Enjoying this time in the limelight.
Well, you got to do it while you can. Listen, and you do it if you're Dylan Coyle, Josh, because who knows? Listen, I mean, obviously he has to pit regardless, but if a yellow comes out, the effects of pitting aren't as big as if he does it under green here. So he'll ride it around and see what happens and, you know, where this cycles out. That's why we run these races. We never quite know what will happen. So Dylan Coyle gets credits for leading laps here at Michigan. But now we're looking at Agnell Phillip, who I believe will cycle around to the net leader once Coyle and Steven Soa do finally pit here, whenever that may happen. So you see Agnell Phillip on screen, and he's just out the start-finish line. So really, Josh, for a race that started off so just bizarre and so, you know, intense, things have finally started to, you know, calm down a little bit here. Drivers have kind of gotten their, you know, their feet under them, got their feet wet, if you want to say that, whatever analogy you use. And now we're just kind of driving around here, turning laps and trying to make some passes.
And Dylan Coyle is trying to meet his pit crew in the pit lane. Here he comes. No, Mr. Pitbox, Dylan. Yeah. He's not even talking to us. He's focused.
Yes, locked.
Hit the marks.
In
there you go.
Dylan Coyle is there. Nice job.
All you guys were talking about how no one was taking 2 tires. I had to be the contrarian here.
Oh, that's Dylan Coyle. If you look up the word contrarian in the dictionary, Dylan Coyle's photo, without the VR headset, by the way, I mind you, is right there in the dictionary. So let's see how this plays out. Because
not well.
Probably not well, will be my guess, with all due respect to Dylan. But let's see. This will put him up, you know, relevant in the race a little bit for a few moments here, and let's see where he cycles back in. Now we're seeing Steven Soa come down, so that's it. Everyone has pitted, Josh. We are now just live to a certain extent. Now it's on. We're about 21, 22 laps to go at this point. 23 laps to go, and we're live. It's Agnell Phillip in the lead here, and Michael Araya in P2.
Steve Soa was the last driver of the group to pit. 23 laps to go from the virtual Michigan International Speedway in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. 3 races left before the playoffs, and Agnell Phillip is looking to put another stamp into his playoff book and looking to add another race win to his collection this year. He's already got 8. He looks for 9 tonight from the virtual Michigan International Speedway. 22 laps to go now. Michael Araya sits in second place. He's got company, though. Here comes Ross Cato, and here comes Thomas George, who we haven't talked much about tonight, Derek, but he was the winner of this race in 2023. He looks for another one tonight.
Yeah, and that always makes you feel good, right? You come back to a track where you've won before. It kind of just gives you some pre-installed or confidence that, hey, I did this before. I know how to do this. I can do it. I've made it happen. There's video proof of me doing it. And so you kind of feel good, especially when we're in the same cars. The setups may change, but once you've done it, you've done it. But I think the positive for tonight, besides Thomas George to talk about, Josh, is people like Grant Davis, people like Eric Papineau, even Cam Patterson, who are on the cut line or below the cut line, but had moments tonight where they kind of boosted their morale and said, hey, listen, I am competitive. I am good enough. I can do this. And now coming to Daytona next week, you may believe in yourself a little bit more. You may just go, hey, I could do this, right? You may have that old Ted Lasso style believe poster right above your doorway saying, I can do this. I am good enough. And next week in Daytona, you can ask yourself, do you believe in miracles?
Yes.
We know Dylan Coyle believes in miracles, and he is going to need one to make the playoffs, unfortunately. So, Dylan, I hope your miracle turns out well for you at the Daytona International Speedway. But
listen, if I win at Daytona, drinks are on me.
Done. I'll take your word for it.
Done.
Well, for the other drivers that are around the cut line, you mentioned Grant Davis, who comes in 43 below the cut line and the first driver below that cut line, so he needs a good night tonight. We're watching Braden Whitaker, who is 80 points below the cut line. We're watching Cam Patterson, who coming into this race was 71 points below the cut line. All these drivers that need wins. Papineau, who is at the front of this group, is the first driver right on that cut line. He is 16th right now, 43 points to the good, above Grant Davis. That lead for him could go away very, very quickly if he is not careful. Wreck out at Daytona, hit the wall a little bit too hard at Darlington, knocked a toe out of the car. That's race over for him. He is walking on eggshells right now, Derek. It's not exactly the lights and sirens that really need to be in his face, but he needs to be careful the next two rounds. Daytona and Darlington can go very south very quick.
Yeah, needs to have focus, needs to be locked in, needs to realize where he is and be, have that situational awareness of knowing that, I'm above the line right now, but it's not safe. It's not safe to go back in the water, so to speak. So I'll have to keep playing around and seeing how that works out here. But right now we're looking at a great battle. This is Michael Lariah here on your screen with Ross Cato and Thomas George in this camera shot. This is the battle for second. Right now these guys are almost 4.5 seconds behind Agnew Phillip. So this really is the battle. Sometimes when you're the leader like Agnew Phillip and you walk away, we don't give you the camera time because there's nothing exciting to show you about that. But right now, this battle for 2, 3, and 4, this is exciting.
We saw 3 yellow flags earlier tonight for 3 different incidents. No claims to any of those cautions, so nobody ended up with end of longest line penalties in any way. But where we are right now, we could see another yellow flag with 16 laps to go. It's a possibility. I think the last, at least at Richmond, at Nashville, Derek, the one that the race that you and me called for the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series, both of those went caution-free. I believe the week before Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Brickyard, it was close to going caution-free, didn't go completely caution-free. Pocono is always known for not exactly being a massive wreck-filled track, so we've had a long stint where we've seen no cautions, and we've seen very strategy-heavy green flag racing. But tonight, however, the caution flags, I think, helped the strategy, made a very interesting race for the remainder of the evening, but it also kind of reproved that yellow flags can strike at any time when these drivers least expect it and can change the outcome of this race.
And it's important to note, we're going to a track next week that is known for massive yellow flags, right? Where they can happen at any moment, any 10th of a second. You're in danger if you're in the pack at Daytona. So next week, listen, we all want to see green flag racing. We all love the 2, 3, 4 wide racing at Daytona under green, but you have to be realistic and say next week, those yellow flags may hurt and hinder somebody at the same time. So we'll see how that plays out here. But we're coming around here quickly. The laps are ticking down here. Now working lap 87, coming to lap 88. And it is still the Agnell Phillips show. Now we're 5.5 seconds. That lead has grown over a second since we talked about that gap last time. And right now, everyone's single file. I think maybe everyone's sort of worn off their tires. Everyone is sort of, maybe used up that adrenaline they had, that high they were riding. And now everyone's just kind of holding on to what they have.
39.7.
I'll tell you what, guys.
Oh, hey, Dylan.
Hey, my right sides are not, just getting new rights has not been the worst experience in the world. My left rear was shot 62, so I've been on that for a bit. But the right sides definitely are helped. My last lap was a 39.9. I think Agnell just ran a 39.7, so you got to remember, the Agnell tax, or I should say the Dylan tax, is there. So I'd say relatively comparable.
Yeah, relatively comparable indeed. Good news. I mean, the fact you're holding, I mean this respectfully, the fact you're holding onto the car with 2 tires, with how hard we've run these tires tonight, is a positive. Like, that's
respectfully, the fact that you're able to drive this car without spinning is impressive. Oh, thanks, man.
Oh my gosh.
Don't speak too soon.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anything can happen. You can still find a wall. Like, don't listen,
The wall's just a couple feet to your right there, Dylan. You can do anything you want.
Can I do anything I want?
I mean,
if you believe in yourself, yeah.
This feels like a Key and Peele sketch. You can fly.
I mean, technically speaking, you can do whatever you want. Now, Evan might have a problem with it, but that's post-race. That's not right now.
Not our problem.
That's true. Evan's dealing with no AC, I think, right now. So
he's dealing with no AC. He's dealing with broken computers. He's dealing with a lot.
Can I talk about this real quick? I'm going to call Evan Basoko out for a second. Josh, what was it? 2 weeks ago, I sat here in Portland, Oregon, 100-degree weather outside, no AC in this apartment, and was I here calling the race? Yes, I was. Evan Basoko, the diva of eNASCAR, no AC. And we got to take the day off. This is
he's in Florida.
Yeah, okay.
That's a little different. I'm sorry, that's a little different. Florida heat is not Portland heat.
No, agreed. But I'm just saying.
Let's check the weather in his neck of the woods today, because I believe it was.
Yeah, don't say where, please. I was done to put my location out there.
I believe over here it was in the low 90s. Let's check where Evan lives.
I mean, the humidity's a little different. I'll give Dylan this.
All right. You know what? It was the same. It was the same weather over where he's at. We're on the opposite ends of Florida, but okay. I mean, would I be here with no AC? Probably, but that would just be to prove Evan wrong.
To be fair to Evan, he's also having some PC issues. He was messaging
he didn't try
us
to get here.
frantically.
I don't want it to seem like he had no AC. He was like, I might not be able to join you, and I'm like, okay. And then he was like, I'll be good with like 10 seconds before, or 10 minutes before we were gonna start the broadcast. And then he tried to get in the iRacing race, and then his computer broke.
And listen, if you think Evan Basoko wouldn't miss a chance to rub the word Michigan into my face as an Ohio State fan all night long, if you think he voluntarily missed that, you are sadly mistaken who Evan Basoko is. He has fun reminding me about Michigan as much as possible. So.
I'm just a Penn State fan over here.
Well, no one cares about that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I went to Temple too.
Wow, is that even a Division I school?
Barely. Hey, we just barely miss March Madness every year by like 20 picks. We almost won the AAC.
Can you play as Temple in CFB 25?
Let's just say, did it go well, and I restarted my dynasty, and I'm back to Penn State.
Oh my gosh! All right, here we go. Well, here we are, less than 10 laps to go, Josh, and really, I mean, we're having some fun now. We're kind of just commenting on random facts because it's really. I thinned out, probably not the right word, but it's really just kind of made a single file line here. It's Phillip, Lariah, Cato, Harris, Freenosh, your top 5, and they're all separated a grand total of 6 seconds. Now, here's the deceiving part of that number. Phillip to Lariah is 6.1 seconds. Lariah to Freenosh is half a second. So it's not exactly over, but compared to where you and I were 80 laps ago, this feels kind of like easy work right now.
And Phillip with a 5.5 second lead right now. Not a lot to talk about up at the front. Michael Araya at the front of this group is also protecting that second spot. This really is a battle for the podium right now. And Cody Harris, if he sits on the podium, is just going to be adding to a relatively successful season for him so far. Harris with 1 win. Andrew Farinaj still needs those points. After tonight, he is looking to be safe from the cut line. But here comes Cody Harris to the inside of Loraya. This is for second place. We've seen Harris aggressive all night. Is he aggressive again?
He's got a little bit of help behind him, doesn't he? A little bit of that push into the corner. That's going to come from Freenach to push Harris on through, but he's drifting up in that corner towards the right. And now Freenach way to the bottom. That was uncharacteristically low, honestly, for that where that line was. But here we are. Harris now P2 at the line.
Side by side now for that third spot as Loraya goes high. Farinaj looks low. Which of these two are going to walk away with the final spot on the podium? 5 laps to go. Farinaj just a dump back into line. Michael Loraya will hold off third. Look at the gap now between the 44 and the 88. He drove up the track in turn 2, probably either tight or loose, and lost a ton of momentum down the back.
He really did, and I'm surprised how far down the track Andrew is getting in those corners, by the way. Most drivers are riding it, at least one seam up, but Andrew wants to hug that line and try and make something happen here. But really now Ross Cato is now the one falling back a little bit here in this group of 5. Ross has had a great season. I think he's sort of quiet season, maybe not someone we focus on a whole lot at times and just sort of in the picture, but has had some great stat lines in his racing this season. Been really proud of himself and very, very active about promoting himself on, what do we call it nowadays, Josh? X, Twitter, Twix?
Twitter.
I still type in twitter.com when I want to check Twitter.
Yeah. So very active in promoting himself. Oh man, there was almost contact there between 88 and Michael Loraya. But Cody Harris now almost feels like Josh. He's kind of pulling the old Dale Jr. out of super speed. But watch him here. He gets up here. He pulls Loraya up a little bit. He's going to come down. He's going to pull the 88 up ahead a little bit. And it's kind of keeping these two guys at bay and keeping them side by side.
With 2 to go at the line this time by for Agno Phillip, this is really racing just to maximize those points. We talked so much about how those points are getting very, very important. Almost 3 wide for third as Loraya almost got caught up in the middle of the Cato and Farinaj machines. But with 2 to go and Agno Phillip still in the lead of this race to the tune of now over 6 seconds. This is going to be another dominating Agno Phillip win, but the big question that we're all wondering is who's going to walk away with second and third? We're side by side for second again. Loraya up top.
Man, look at that. Almost walked away by that. Look, I thought Agno Phillip must hit the wall there. That would have been a moment had he done that, Josh. But look at this back here in P2. This is now Cody Harris. This is Michael Loraya. This is Ross Cato now up to P4. He's moved around Freenach, and now they're going to battle it out here. But here he is, the white flag for Agno Phillip.
One final lap around the Michigan International Speedway for the 94 of Agno Phillip. It's also one more lap for Cody Harris to try and get second place from Michael Loraya. He went for the side draft heading into turn number 1. He was not able to get there. He goes low. Loraya looks high as they exit turn 2. Here's the back straightaway. This is the fight for second place. Harris gonna pull him down the back. The big momentum shifts for the number 28, but the help to the back bumper of the 44. This is the battle for second. There's no battle for first. Looking for win number 9 on this season and win number 24 of the RSR Cup Series career. Agno Phillip goes to victory lane in Michigan, and side by side for second. Drag race to the line. Cody Harris walks away with second. No! Was it Loraya? It was Harris. Loraya gets third by 3/100ths of a second just about.
Wow, that came down really close. You saw Loraya did everything he could to find speed in that last corner and just came up and just a short did Loraya there. But man, what a great run by Agno Phillip. Let's not leave that unsaid. What a dominating run to pull out here after the pit stops are over and just check out and it be there. Then it's Harris, Loraya, and others. Let's watch the Agno Phillip come around here into his RSR burnout moment for really just another time this season.
24th win of his RSR Cup Series career, improves his total win percentage to over 20% of starts in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. It was a spectacular night for Agnell Phillip, who started on the pole as well. First and second, Phillip and Harris both finished exactly how they started, 1 and 2. Let's show you our full results from tonight's race here from the Michigan International Speedway. Agnell Phillip walks away with the victory. Cody Harris walks away with second. Michael Araya, Andrew Freenarge, and Ross Cato rounding out your top 5 on the finishing order. Grant Davis, Thomas George, Cam Patterson, Braden Whitaker, and Sam Nieto going to round out a 16-second gap through to the edge of the top 10.
Moving back to the P11 here is going to be Brandon Gass, who's already locked in on points, but Eric Papinel behind him. Then Dylan Coyle's been in here all night in the booth, P13. Steven Silva, 14th. DeAndre Kane, 1 lap down, as was Bradley Burke. And then Mike Maddox, over 50 laps down, your last car in P17. That is like top to bottom at your Real Sim Racing Series results here from tonight. Well, Josh, I believe you have caught up with our race winner, Agnell Phillip.
Agnell Phillip with yet another race victory tonight. He's standing by with us in the broadcast booth now. And Agnell, it wasn't exactly the most typical Agnell Phillip win, but winning by 7.5 seconds at the end of that race seems pretty typical to me. Congratulations on your 9th win of the year.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, now I want to know what a typical win looks like. But yeah, that was an interesting race. I definitely wasn't expecting the gap that we ended up with at the end there. It was kind of hectic and chaotic at the beginning part, and then we could sort of settled out. But it was a fun race. Glad we could bring it on.
Well, for me personally, I'd say a perfect hat trick of pole, lead every lap, and win by about 25 seconds seems like a typical Agnell Phillip win at this point. But with your 9 wins, we talked tonight about the bonus points heading into the playoffs, and we know how important those bonus points are. Is that what you're focused on now? 9 wins, you're aiming at about, doing quick math, 27 extra points heading in to the first round of the playoffs. Is that something you're focused on heading into Daytona and Darlington to kind of maximize what you can do in the round of 16?
Not necessarily. I think we're pretty good on points. I think the extra ones obviously help just in case something happens. You never know. What these races or life will throw at you in there. So that's helpful. But honestly, I'm committed to running as many of these races as I can, and I figure if I'm showing up, I may as well give it my best shot, and that's kind of I expect to be up near the front and running well in these things. So that's kind of, there's not really a whole lot more to it. There's not a whole lot of strategy going on right now. I think definitely with Peter Irons joining the league recently. Matt Danson's going to be coming back at some point. Cody's obviously always really fast. It's not going to be easy to kind of get through the playoffs. So I definitely got to get in kind of tip-top race shape, so to speak. So just going to keep grinding away at it. It's fun. It has been fun. I know the fields have been a little small, but the benefit or the side effect of that is I think these races have been a lot cleaner. Which has been fun. We've been able to really go on some long green runs.
Well, we know a lot of people make it possible for you, a lot of people supporting you. Name them all off. Let's get on your soapbox with yet another win of the season.
Yeah, I got to thank the guys over at A51 Pro and Lockdown Racing. Had a good showing at Road to Pro Watkins Glen last week. Should have been better, but that was my bad. And also got to give a shout out to my colleagues at the ProPublica Guild. We celebrated our 1-year anniversary of being a union last year, which was pretty cool. Glad I can kind of represent them, and would encourage everybody to go check out our work. And thanks to Evan and everybody in this league for putting it on. It's always a fun time.
Congratulations once again on your 9th win of the season. That was Agnell Phillip, who walks away with the win tonight from the Michigan International Speedway. Second place in a thrilling battle to the end. There goes to the 28 of Cody Harris. Derek, you're standing by with him.
Well, before we do the interview thing, there's no better place than to do what I'm going to do right here. Cody Harris,
OH.io.
There it is. No better place to do that than in this terrible state we call... Well, we call it Michigan. We don't use the M word. There's a certain week in November we don't even use that M word, right?
That's right. Put
That's
a big
right.
X over the M.
That's right. Well, listen, great run tonight. Looked like it was really fun out there.
Yeah, it was a more fun race than I was expecting. I wish I'd have pitted a couple laps sooner so I could have got in Agnell's draft and then kind of just been with him the rest of the race, maybe. But he had something figured out. He was pretty quick there. But me staying out as long as I did, I think, hurt me in the long run. But I still ended up second, so can't be too upset, especially after the few races I've had. Last week I sped on pit road and had a decent shot at second or maybe winning. So at least I finally had a clean race.
So you used the word fun, but we came into one point into your webcam and we could see as you were going through the corners, you were just kind of like really sawing logs with that wheel. Like it looked like it was still a handful out there, despite how fun it was, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what made it fun. It's a little challenging because as you cross the seams, sometimes it'll just jump out and you don't really feel 100% secure with the car. If you, like going into turn one, if you mess that entry up, then you're gonna pay for all the way through the corner, through exit, and just kind of saw on it. But yeah, it made it a lot of fun.
So next week, Daytona, that big looming question mark and chaos and bump drafting and 3 wide, everything else you can think of in your head right now. We're going to see Cody Harris up front all night long, trying for the win. Does Cody Harris like to sit in the back and kind of wait for it to happen? What are we going to see next week?
I'll probably be up front. Whatever happens. I have the win already, so may as well learn what the runs do and get people that can trust you and you can trust them, and hopefully have a good result and avoid the chaos.
There you go. Well, listen, great job tonight. Anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to on your way out?
Thank you for you guys for putting this on every week. It's always fun to log in here and race, and all my family and friends that watch. It's fun to do this all the time.
All right. Well, listen, Cody, great job tonight, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Thank you. See ya.
All right, there he is. Cody Harris finished P2 tonight in that Scarlet and Gray machine, Josh. And now I believe Michael Laraya is up. He finished P3.
Third place finish for the 44 Laraya, and it was also an exciting finish for him as well, coming to the line side by side. But Michael, a third place finish for you tonight. What did it feel like from down on the track? I know so far this season you've gotten one of these wins. You weren't really looking for one, but 2 is always better than 1.
Oh, for sure. Going into tonight, Michigan hasn't been one of my better tracks, so to come away tonight with a top 3 finish is certainly welcome. The race definitely played out differently than I thought it would. We ended up getting a lot more spread out there after we were able to get that long green flag run towards the end of the race. I think part of it was due to the car count. Just kind of helped a bit versus us being in one large pack. A lot harder to separate in those circumstances, but it really came down to a little bit of tire management there, especially about 15 laps into a run. You started getting a little bit loose, crossing some of the seams in the track off of the corners, and so it kind of became a race of being able to maintain good momentum, but making sure that you're holding a steady line through the turns and not really slide in the rears too much. So that was certainly welcome. That plays more into my wheelhouse when the races become more of a handling challenge, but like most of the season here, everybody is, including myself, is playing catch up to Agnell. He just had it figured out tonight, so had to play second fiddle to him, but still overall a really good night.
Moving forward now, 2 more races left before the playoffs, Daytona and Darlington. You can add some bonus points with wins at either of those tracks, or you, obviously Daytona and confidence is not really 2 words that you put in the same sentence, but what about Darlington? Are you confident there? And I guess, are you confident that you can have a little bit of luck at Daytona, stay out of the trouble?
Oh man, it's so hard to tell. I think I've been wrecked every position running a Daytona or Talladega race. So at this point, I got to win in the bank. I'm just going to go for broke. I want to qualify well and stay near the front and make myself look good for my sponsor. So that's going to be my strategy going into that race. Just, try to be laid back and have some fun there. But certainly Darlington, that's one of my best tracks on iRacing. And I really expect myself to be in contention to for a win there. Anything outside of a top 3 is certainly going to be a disappointment in my book. So definitely have that race circled here on the calendar. But yeah, I mean we're getting towards crunch time here, kicking off the playoffs. So kind of just want to make sure that I'm doing my job, executing with strategy, and not making any mistakes. That really, the first round, that's what it comes down to. It's not a do or die as far as winning, in my opinion, but you can certainly take yourself out of contention if you make some dumb mistakes or you just are way off on strategy. So it's just going to be all about execution.
And execute is what you'll need to do, not only in the next 2 rounds, but also in the playoffs. And I know so many people make everything possible for you. Who do you got to thank tonight for your speed here in Michigan?
Of course, I got to thank Sim Speed Shop for being on board the car. I'm also going to give a shout out to yourself here, Derek, and Joshua for helping out with the broadcasts. And I'm going to also give a shout out to Evan for running the league. I know it's a lot of responsibility, but he makes it happen every year. So, of course, got to give a shout out to him.
We congratulate you once again on your podium finish here tonight. That was Michael O'Ryan, who finishes in P3, and we thank him, Cody Harris, and Agnell Phillip, your race winner tonight, for joining us here in the booth for the post-race show. But Derek, very different track, and the stakes just start to ramp up a little bit more. The Daytona International Speedway in 1 week's time, August 19th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, same place, right here on RaceSpotTV. But Daytona is not technically my home track, but I will be going to the race this year, and I've been to my fair share of races at the Daytona International Speedway, and there is just nothing like racing at Daytona. If you are a driver, if you are a competitor, you want to win at this track. It's no different in the virtual world, and no different for those drivers that are not locked in on points and are outside of the cut line.
No, listen, I did it this year for the iRacing Daytona 500. There's something about it. I can't exactly tell you why, Josh. I can't tell you why it matters so much. It feels great. It was a monkey off your back to do it, almost, to use that analogy. And the appeal to Daytona is anyone can do it. It's the old poker analogy. All you need is a chip and a chair. All you need is a steering wheel and 4 wheels, and you could win at Daytona.
Who will walk away with the win at the World Center of Racing? Only time will tell as we go racing next week, next Monday night from the Daytona International Speedway. But that is unfortunately going to wrap us up here from the virtual Michigan International Speedway. And we'd like to thank everybody at RealSimRacing and at RaceSpotTV for their support of the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. And for our team tonight, Evan Pasoko, unfortunately not able to join us by the end of the broadcast, but Derek Watson alongside myself, Joshua Lee up here in the booth. We thank all of you for tuning in tonight, and a congratulations to Agnell Phillip, who walks away with his 9th win of the 2024 Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series season. Will he get another one in 1 week's time at the Daytona International Speedway? The road to the playoffs continues in 1 week's time. We'll see you from Daytona.